Hello, welcome to the English Habit. I'm Ava and I'm so happy you're here. This video is for beginner learners. Today I'm talking with my friend Zoe about her favorite foods and cooking adventures. It's slow and easy, so use the pictures to help. Let's begin. Zoe, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Zoe. Nice to meet everyone. I'm 21 years old, from Denver, Colorado, in the United States. I work as a cashier at a grocery store, and I love trying new foods.
Denver sounds cool. Thanks, Zoe. Let's talk more. Okay, Zoe. Let's start with your favorite foods. What's a food you love to eat? Maybe something you have often, and why it's so special to you.
My favorite food is probably tacos. I eat them at least once a week because they're so tasty and fun. I make them at home with soft tortillas, ground beef, and lots of cheese. I add lettuce, tomatoes, and a big scoop of salsa for a little spice. Sometimes I use chicken instead, or even beans if I want something lighter. Tacos are special because they remind me of family dinners when I was little. My mom would set out all the ingredients and we'd build our own, laughing and making a mess. I love how you can change them up, like adding avocado or sour cream, and they're always good. In Denver, there's a food truck near my house that sells amazing tacos, and I go there with friends sometimes. We sit outside, eat, and talk for hours. The best part is the crunch of the lettuce and the warm meat, all mixed together. I could eat tacos every day and never get bored. In summer, I make them with grilled corn, and in winter, I add hot sauce to warm up. I think tacos are like a hug on a plate because they make me happy no matter what. I've even tried making dessert tacos with fruit and whipped cream, which sounds weird but tastes so good. I love experimenting with them because it's like playing in the kitchen.
Wow, Zoe, tacos sound delicious. What about another food? Maybe something you tried somewhere else, like a different city or country.
I visited San Diego last summer, and I tried fish tacos there. They were so different from my usual ones, and I loved them. San Diego's by the ocean, so the fish was fresh, like it was caught that day. The tacos had crispy fish, cabbage, and a creamy sauce, all in a soft tortilla. I ate them at a little restaurant by the beach, with waves crashing nearby. The sun was setting, and it felt like a dream. I had 3 tacos because I couldn't stop. I went with my cousin, and we walked along the boardwalk after, talking about how good the food was. I'd never had fish tacos before, and now I make them at home sometimes. Though they're not as good as San Diego's, I use white fish and try to copy the sauce, but it's tricky. That trip made me love seafood more, because it was so light and flavorful. I also tried ceviche in San Diego, which is raw fish with lime juice and cilantro. It was new, but I liked it, especially with chips. I took pictures of the food to remember it, and I still look at them when I'm hungry. San Diego's food felt like a party, because everything was colorful and fresh. I want to go back and eat more, maybe try shrimp tacos or something new. That experience showed me how food can tell you about a place, like the ocean in every bite.
That sounds so yummy, Zoe. Let's talk about cooking. What's something you love to cook? And how did you learn to make it?
I love cooking pancakes because they're easy and make everyone smile. I make them on weekends, usually for breakfast. I mix flour, eggs, milk, and a little sugar, then cook them on a pan until they're golden. I add blueberries or chocolate chips sometimes, and I stack them high with syrup. I learned from my grandma when I was 10. She'd let me flip the pancakes, and I'd get so excited when they didn't break. Her kitchen smelled like butter and sweetness, and we'd eat them hot with coffee or juice. Now I make them for my roommates. and we sit around the table, talking and laughing. I'm not perfect, sometimes they burn, but I've gotten better. I like trying new things, like banana pancakes, or ones with cinnamon. Cooking pancakes feels like a tradition because it connects me to my grandma. I also make them for birthdays, with candles on top, which is silly but fun. I think cooking is like magic, because you take simple stuff and make something warm and happy. I've messed up plenty, like using too much salt once, but I laugh and try again. Pancakes are my go-to, because they're quick and I can share them. I want to learn more recipes, maybe waffles next, because they're similar but crunchy. Cooking's my way to relax and show love, and I'm always excited to flip that first pancake.
Pancakes sound so good, Zoe. What's a cooking adventure you dream of? Maybe a dish you want to try or a place you'd love to cook in?
My big cooking dream is to make sushi in Japan. I love sushi, like rolls with rice, fish, and avocado, but I've never made it. I eat it at a place in Denver, but it's expensive, so I want to learn. Japan feels like the best place because that's where sushi started. I'd go to Tokyo and take a cooking class, maybe in a small kitchen with a teacher who speaks a little English. I'd learn to cut fish, roll rice, and make it look pretty, like art. I saw videos of sushi chefs, and they're so careful, like every piece is special. I'd try making California rolls first, because they're simple, then maybe ones with tuna or salmon. I'd eat everything I make, even if it's messy, because it'd be fun. I'd visit a market in Japan to buy fresh fish and seaweed, and I'd walk through streets, smelling rice and soy sauce. I'd also try other Japanese foods, like ramen or dumplings, because I love noodles. I'd stay for a month if I could, cooking every day and learning words like arigato. For thank you, I'd bring a notebook to write recipes and draw the food, because I like sketching. Cooking in Japan would feel like a big adventure, because it's far from Denver and so different. Another dream is baking bread in France, because I'm a baker. I'd go to Paris and learn to make baguettes, all crusty and soft. I'd work in a bakery with big ovens, smelling flour all day. I'd eat bread with butter and jam, sitting by a river. France looks so pretty with cafes and flowers, and I'd bake croissants too, because they're my favorite. I'd practice until my bread's perfect, then bring recipes home. Japan and France are my dreams, but I'd cook anywhere with good ingredients and kind people. Food's a way to travel, because every dish has a story, and I want to tell those stories in my kitchen someday.
This was so fun, Zoe. Now, I want to hear your questions. What do you want to ask me?
Ava, what types of food you love?
I love pizza. I make it with mozzarella and tomatoes, and it's so cheesy and warm.
Nice. What types a cooking dream?
I'd love to make pasta in Italy. I'd learn to roll dough and cook sauce in a village kitchen.
That sounds cool. Thanks, Ava.
Thank you, Zoe. Everyone, like and subscribe to The English Habit. New videos every day. Bye. Hello, welcome back to The English Habit. I'm Ava, and I'm so excited you're here for part 2. This video is for beginner learners, and we're continuing our talk with my friend Zoe about her favorite foods and cooking adventures. It's slow and clear, so use the pictures to help. Zoe, ready to share more?
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe, and yes, I'm ready. I love talking about food, so let's do this.
Awesome. Let's get cooking with more questions. Okay, Zoe, we talked about tacos and pancakes last time. Let's dive into another favorite food. What's a dish you love, maybe something you eat for dinner or a special occasion, and why does it mean so much to you?
And really love spaghetti with meatballs for dinner. It's one of those meals I make when I want to feel cozy, probably twice a month. I use pasta from the store, but I make the sauce myself with tomatoes, garlic, and herbs like basil and oregano. The meatballs are beef with breadcrumbs and a little cheese inside, so they're soft and juicy. I cook it all slowly, and my kitchen smells amazing, like an Italian restaurant. It's special because it's a recipe my dad taught me when I was a teenager. He'd play music, and we'd chop onions together, sometimes crying and laughing. Now, when I make it, I think of him even though he lives far away. I love twirling the spaghetti on my fork and getting a big bite with sauce and meatball. It's messy, but that's the fun part. I make it for my friends sometimes, and we eat with bread and salad, sitting around my small table. In Denver, there's a market where I buy fresh tomatoes for the sauce, and it makes a difference. For special occasions like my birthday, I add extra cheese on top and bake it a little so it's gooey. In winter, it's perfect because it warms me up, and in summer, I eat it outside with a cold drink. Spaghetti with meatballs feels alike because it's food you share, and everyone's happy after. I've tried making it different ways, like with spicy sausage or mushrooms, and it's always good. I think it's a dish that tells a story about family and good times, and I'll never stop making it.
That sounds so comforting, Zoe. I'm hungry now. What about a dessert you love? Maybe something you tried or make yourself?
I'm a baker, so desserts are my thing. And I love chocolate chip cookies. I make them all the time, probably every week, because they're simple but perfect. I use butter, sugar, flour, and lots of chocolate chips. And I mix it by hand to feel the dough. I bake them until they're golden, a little crispy on the edges, but soft inside. The smell fills my apartment, and I can't wait to eat one warm with milk. I learned to make them at my grocery store job, where we sell cookies, but I changed the recipe to add vanilla and a pinch of salt. It makes them taste better, like a hug in every bite. I bring them to work, and my coworkers love them, especially with coffee. When I was a kid, I'd eat store cookies, but homemade ones are so much better. I make them for holidays, like Christmas, with red and green sprinkles, or for picnics with friends. One time, I made a giant cookie for my roommate's birthday, and we cut it like a cake. It was so fun. In summer, I add nuts sometimes, and in winter, I use dark chocolate for a richer taste. I've burned a few batches, but I laugh and try again. Cookies are special because they're small but make people smile. I want to try new kinds, like oatmeal or peanut butter, because baking's like an adventure. Every time I open the oven, it's exciting, like opening a present. I think cookies are magic because you can share them anywhere and they make any day better.
Cookies sound amazing, Zoe. I want some now. Let's talk about another cooking adventure. What's a dish you've made that was new or challenging, and how did it go?
Last month, I tried making homemade pizza, and it was a big adventure. I'd eaten pizza tons of times, but making it from scratch was new. I found a recipe online for dough with flour, yeast, and water, and I mixed it until it was stretchy. That part was hard because the dough kept sticking to my hands, but I kept going. I let it rise for an hour, which felt like forever, and then I rolled it out to make a circle. I wasn't sure what toppings to use, so I went simple with tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni because I love spicy food. I added some basil from a plant in my kitchen, which made it smell fresh. Baking it was tricky because I didn't know if the oven was hot enough, but I set it to high and watched it like a hawk. After 15 minutes, it came out bubbly and golden, and I was so proud. I cut it into slices and ate it with my brother, who came over to try it. The crust was a little chewy, not perfect, but the cheese was melty, and the pepperoni had a kick. We laughed because my kitchen was a mess, with flour everywhere, but it was worth it. I learned that pizza needs patience, because rushing makes the dough tough. Since then, I've made it again, trying new toppings like mushrooms and olives. I want to get better, maybe make a thin crust or a white pizza with no sauce. It was challenging because I'd never used yeast before, and I was scared it wouldn't rise, but seeing it puff up was so cool. Cooking pizza felt like being a chef, and I loved sharing it. I think trying new dishes is fun, because even if it's not perfect, you learn something, like how to knead dough or time the oven. I'd tell anyone to try it, because pizza's like a canvas, and you can paint it with flavors.
That's so cool, Zoe. Pizza from scratch sounds like a win. What's a cooking dream you have? Maybe a new skill or a food you want to make somewhere special?
My biggest cooking dream is to learn to make tamales in Mexico. I've eaten tamales at a festival in Denver, and they're so good, like little gifts wrapped in corn husks. They're made with masa, which is corn dough, and filled with things like pork, chicken, or cheese. Then steamed. I love the soft texture and how they taste with green salsa. I want to go to a small town in Mexico, maybe Oaxaca, and learn from someone who's made them forever, like a grandma in a colorful kitchen. I'd spend a day mixing masa, spreading it on husks, and filling them with spicy meat or beans. I'd learn how to fold them right, because it looks hard, like wrapping a present. I'd eat them hot, sitting outside with new friends, maybe with rice and lime juice. I'd visit a market to buy chilies and corn, smelling spices in the air. I'd try different kinds, like sweet tamales with fruit, because I heard they're yummy. I'd stay for weeks, practicing until I could make them for my family back. I'd write down every step in a notebook, maybe sketch the kitchen, because I like drawing. Cooking in Mexico would feel like a journey, because tamales are so special, full of history and love. I'd learn Spanish words, like grasa and comida, to say thanks for the food. Another dream is baking cakes in London, because I'm a baker, and I love British shows about desserts. I'd go to a bakery and learn to make Victoria sponge cake, with jam and cream. I'd eat it with tea, sitting in a park with flowers. London looks fancy, with old buildings, and I'd bake scones too, because they're buttery and good with jam. I'd practice piping frosting, to make cakes pretty, like ones I see online. Mexico and London are my dream, but I'd cook anywhere with fresh food and kind people. Cooking's like telling a story, and I want to learn new chapters, from tamales to cakes, and share them with everyone I know.
This was so tasty, Zoe. Now I want to hear your questions. What do you want to ask me?
Ava, what subses a dessert you love?
I love cheesecake. I make it with cream cheese and a graham crust, so creamy and sweet.
Nice. What is your cooking dream?
I'd love to make curry in India. I'd learn spices and cook with a family in a busy kitchen.
That sounds yummy. Thanks, Ava.
Thank you, Zoe. Everyone, like and subscribe to The English Habit. New videos every day. Bye.